Hi there, folks. This is Lee, and you're watching In the Moment, a series of conversations about life, the Gurdjieff work, and many other things. And you know how often I draw scientific weirdness and other stuff into these conversations, so oh my God, I'm going to do it again, and this time we're talking about the movements. Ooh la la. Well, here's the story. Some of us are engaged in what hopes will become a worldwide effort across multiple lines of the work to bring a new Gurdjieff movement's presentation to the public. Oh my God. At this moment, plans are entirely generative. Nothing has been decided other than the objective fact that this is a good and even necessary aim. But while we were discussing the idea this morning, I told my wife, Neil, who, for those of you who don't know her, is a movements teacher and performed in the 1980s Movements movie, that our aim should be to book Carnegie Hall. Perhaps I'll be scoffed at for suggesting this, but there's nothing wrong with shooting high, in my opinion. In any event, she pointed out that many folks out there who are not in the Gurdjieff work seem to think the movements look militaristic. Oh my God, again. If in defensive mode, one might argue that, simply put, we've become too accustomed to freestyle ballet. But that would be selling the question short. There is some truth to the impression. The military lifestyle intentionally formalizes itself as a kind of bonding exercise, which creates more power. And attached to that, a potentially uncomfortable truth emerges. All power in the cosmos ultimately derives from bonds and tension, not freedom and self-expression. Just think of how well your muscles would work, for example, if they were not bound to tendon and to bone. This is a precisely apt analogy, of course, because if muscles are not bound to bone, movements can't even begin to take place. Everyone just lies there on the floor. There. What's far more important in the movements than the question of their regimentation is the question of forming a center of gravity. We generally understand this process from the point of view of centrifugal force. Things spin, and that's where the center of gravity comes from. Ta-da! Yet this simplistic and essentially Newtonian interpretation overlooks the fact that gravity is not a force of spin, although yes, it generates spin to form the bonds that surround it. What is it then? It's a force of consciousness. And of course, the movements are the only art form I know of in the whole world that physically, musically represent this particular manifestation of consciousness. And not just at the macroscopic level alone by any means. They equally, in their form, represent what takes place at the root of consciousness, where the center of gravity is not found in one place, but is evenly distributed throughout the entire matrix. When we watch the movements, it quickly becomes apparent that the center of gravity is not located in a single place, such as, for example, the Earth's center of gravity. No. It is equally distributed throughout all of the participants, which allows it to remain precise and intact, while at the same time constantly redistributing its balance. It goes everywhere, all over the place, while remaining in harmony. It's not here or there. It's everywhere. In a group of movements participants, consciousness is in every instance equally distributed throughout all of them. Hence, Paul Radard's comment to my wife many years ago. The movements class in New York was doing a movement, and everyone but Neil was getting one part wrong. She silently insisted throughout the movement on doing it correctly. Damn, did she show them, huh? After the class, Paul called her over privately and said, with finger-wagging warmth, when the rest of the class is doing the movement wrong and you're doing it right, you're doing the movement wrong. Those who are familiar with molecular biology and how the DNA molecule actually works will immediately recognize the fact that the movements represent an objective fact just now coming into clearer focus on the computer monitors of the modern sciences. The center of gravity for life and being is a whole thing, constantly in movement, forever in every instant rebalancing and redistributing its center of gravity in order to conform to the objective needs of the moment. Its fluidity obeys strict laws, but within the framework of those laws, it is endlessly flexible and endlessly creative. This could never be the case with a set of laws like the ones we use to make our own human machines, which are actually impossibly inefficient compared to those of nature and life. A single computational process of even the most efficient human computer uses up to 2 billion times more energy than a single molecular computation inside a cell. This ordered flexibility is the source from which life itself draws all of its great resilience and power. Such magic could never be possible without consciousness. And it's this universal distribution of the center of gravity within life through consciousness that makes life and being possible in the first place. Gurdjieff's movements allow us a window into that, for us at our scale, impossibly alien process. Does it look too rigid and structured to us? Perhaps. Yet if we're truly watching closely and we listen, it can call us to a certain higher set of questions. We begin to see that we actually don't understand what life is. And here is an art form that illustrates strange facts we never considered before. This is something we all need to know and understand, and it is why Gurdjieff took the movements out on the road, so to speak, to Carnegie Hall. He hoped to bring the public a living vision of this sacred and absolutely extraordinary matter. The next time you undertake an exercise, or perhaps simply an actual intention, to actively sense yourself throughout your whole body, to sense every living cell as a creature in its own right. Consider the fact that a Gurdjieff movement is meant, among other things, to illustrate that self-same perfectly balanced distribution of energy in dance. Illustrated so that it can not only be felt and sensed within the bodies of those who are dancing, but also sensed and felt and seen by the audience. It is a search for both inner and outer sensation as consciousness, evenly distributed throughout the entire body. The body of the individual, the body of the community, of the society, the body of the planet and the starry worlds. In this way, a different and deeper level of appreciation of the nature of life, the planet, and the cosmos begins to emerge in both the participants and in the audience. It's an affirmation of being that spans many levels at the same time. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.